tell you why I'm dressed like this. I double booked this morning. I've been reminding you continually about this meeting today, and guess who forgot? I didn't, I mean, I had it on one calendar, did not put it on my other calendar. And yesterday morning, I realized I double booked, so they're pushing back the time a little bit, but at 9, I was supposed to be in San Martin, so 9:50. Anyway, we're gonna get started. Roll call, Giovanni. Rebecca. Ryan, I see is here, Marie's here, Tony. Dion, here, Frank.
Here.
Jane.
Here.
Susan.
Here.
Dave.
Here.
Savannah.
Here.
Dee. Emily. And Jeannie's here and Fred is here. Okay, we have a forum. We are going to go ahead and get started. I see Richard Legends in the audience.
Here.
Mr. Legends, I have a question for you. Since you have come to the council meeting, you've come to our meeting. I have some people on the list that have not met their attendance here. Would you like to become a member of our committee?
Is there room?
Okay, so we meet once a month, and next month, we're going to be talking about our schedule for the rest of the year. So it's 8 o'clock, second Tuesday of every month. Would you like to be a member? I'm talking, I can talk to you later.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shoot me your phone number. Your phone number when you're not, when I see an eager person in the audience, we're gonna go. So.
Great day.
Okay, is there any public comment this morning? No, okay. We're going to approve, now refresh my memory. I believe that we did not approve the January 9th minutes because of some staff review. Any of you remember that we did do it?
We did,
We did not. We didn't have a quorum at that time. So we are going to approve the January 9th minutes and the March 12th minutes. Do I have, did anyone see an omission or a correction to the minutes? No? Then do I have a motion? Who will second? Okay, Marie will second. All right, all in favor? Opposed? Okay, January and March have been approved. Yeah, January and March have been approved. Okay, I'm gonna skip down just a little bit because some of you might be wondering why we're meeting monthly for a while. Things have gotten stalled, okay, with our Pinewood ordinance and our vacancy building ordinance. We are going to talk next month. We're going to meet again in May to finish up the parklet requirements. And we're going to talk about the future of the committee, why we joined and what our purpose is. And kind of get things back on track because maybe I'm wrong, but I felt that we were really writing these two ordinances in pretty good format to get them pushed forward because I keep hearing for sales taxes down. And these two ordinances are meant to help stimulate downtown and get it moving. And that was the purpose of our committee. So we're going to have, a talk about this and where we're going and what can be done. And then, and this is only if the parklet requirements get completed in May. We talk about a schedule because there's no point in us meeting every single month if things are just going to start getting piled up and going nowhere. And the purpose of this committee was to see things go somewhere. Okay, so we will do that next month. Our last subcommittee that I'm really anxious to hear from is code enforcement, because without code enforcement, we have nothing. So go ahead, Jane.
Thank you, and I'll be the spokesperson for the code enforcement subcommittee, but it's all about the work of the team, so chime in here as well, sitting together, because we love. So thank you, Savannah. By accident. So what we did, we've met several times to have this conversation. Originally January 9th, you were given a handout that for the most part, had just questions and how to pursue and what do we really want to talk about here. Based on that, we were fortunate to get a meeting set up with Jimmy and Sharon to get the nuts and bolts of what that means in terms of code enforcement and the realities of that. And attached to our report is the memorandum from Jimmy that was submitted by Sharon, that gives you a background on what the work that have been played in the past year. So, essentially, we have identified answers to questions 1, 2, 3, 4, made some recommendations in 4, 5, and 6 answers some questions. And I think what we really would like to emphasize is that the items in number 4, to get some feedback on from this committee to see what you think. And I think we all have to be in a reality about what we're dealing with in the city. And there are a number of things going on in the city. We have a new project downtown. So, item 4, what are the primary issues listed above that this subcommittee recommends pursuing? We believe that working toward a code enforcement officer designated downtown corridor in future budget proposals. That's an idea, a designated code enforcement officer for downtown. Second, to educate business and property owners on procedures detailing how to make complaints about downtown code violations. Third, increase the fines for downtown code violations. Put some teeth in it. And in addition, increase sign notifications regarding penalties for violations. Frank has some great images that he forwarded that we can include if you want to pursue that and present that to council. Fourth, we want to advocate for the approval of the PBID because actually by downtown property owners, they can help provide designated funding for extra security. That's a PBID possibility still on the table. We recognize that code enforcement is not just a downtown issue, but a citywide issue, and that needs to be just acknowledged. Next, for the city staff report, we currently have a reactive model of code enforcement. We want to be proactive. Staff believes it would take twice as many code enforcement officers to be that kind of model. Next, city staff, we believe, council, when you're having a conversation about what ordinances you want to enforce, you need to ask the question, what kind of staff time is it going to take to enforce this? So you're not just passing all these ordinances that may not be a priority, may not be about health and safety, which is our top priority. Ask that question, because I think that reality sometimes is forgotten. And next, finally, recommending monthly drive-throughs. These are drive-throughs not scheduled necessarily, so someone who's in violation would know that the Friday of the month at 9 o'clock, city's coming through. Let's see what's going on. That unexpected check-in, I think, would help provide additional ability for the city to say, these are our problem vendors. So those are our recommendations. We were doing our best to add to just the reality about what we're dealing with. And Savannah, Frank, and Susan, jump in. Anything else?
I think the one thing that I'd add that's mentioned a little earlier is that public safety complaints are the #1 driver for code enforcement. So, you know, that takes precedence over food trucks or food vendors or some other items, but
Try to help and safety.
it's important to keep that in perspective.
That's our report, Carol.
Okay, thank you.
Jim,
Any questions? Because I know I'm writing down some right now, but.
thank you all for the work. Going back to the PBID, obviously, as you know, Matt, you had mentioned kind of getting that kind of making that a priority, right? Where's the roadblocks that you feel that we, the city, can?
No roadblock in the city. It's a time issue about what organization has the time and bandwidth to step up and help make this happen.
Right.
Jimmy doesn't know, but Tom Klein and Manny Van, my board chair, we want to have a special meeting with Jimmy to have a conversation about that to see what that could look like for the future. So I don't see roadblocks. It's bandwidth.
Right, thank you for that, but I'm saying, what I'm asking for, it's the bandwidth, obviously, but what can the city do to kind of get that moving forward, right? To help you, because again, I know it's bandwidth.
We'll have some ideas to share with Jimmy.
Okay.
Oh, you did share ideas?
No, we'll have some.
Oh, you have some.
The chamber has some ideas,
Can you share?
not till we talk to Jimmy.
Oh.
It wouldn't be fair to just drop them on here.
Right.
Yeah.
We need the decoder
prize.
It's his job there. Well, you might hear some duplicate thought that. that the
No,
chamber might have.
It's more about how do we make it happen with the chamber taking that lead, and what kind of support that might look like for the city. That's a conversation.
Sure.
We don't have any specifics about that.
Oh,
But we understand it's gonna take some collaboration here, probably some funding to help pull this off from a staffing perspective. Don't know that yet, but we believe, the chamber board believes this is a very, very important issue that somebody needs to step up.
right.
Thank you, that's what I'm saying.
Does that?
And it will never happen unless someone takes it on and champions it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And since this is a passion of yours, you should step up and take care of it.
I've already been changing. Yeah.
Because that's the only way this stuff happens.
New championship.
The thing I have to remind people is that the PBIT is not the city's PBIT, it is an independent, almost basically like a corporation, so the city can only take you so far, and like Fred and Dion said, is that somebody has to say, we're the leadership here, because that leadership comes from a board that does not have city involvement. So we've taken you as far as we can, and I think people realize that, and so that's why, you're coming out like, how do we get to the finish line?
Exactly.
And it is like, I'm trying to explain to people, it's like a homeowners association, but for the downtown businesses. And so it has to be created like any homeowners association is created in any community. You have to start with that organization.
So in reality, you have to get all the business on board, they won't go.
They have to have more than half. It doesn't have to be all, but it has to be more than half.
By square foot.
And it basically has to have someone, you don't send a letter, but you have that personal one-on-one contact with the building and business owners and talk to them about it, because they don't really understand what it is. When they get a letter, it's, isn't that letter easy to just go, I don't want to do it. But when they hear about the good points and, the helpful points, they can ask questions. I think that's where you have a better result. And it takes a lot of time, but it can be done.
Yeah.
But you just have to realize it takes time to make this contract.
And thank you all for that, just sometimes the business says, well, if I'm going to contribute financially here, who's in charge of overseeing the money, right?
That homeowners association.
It'll be a whole, it'll be an association.
Anyone who's been through this bid process, like we've already done with tourism, we understand how this works.
Yeah.
So there's a very specific structure that there's law about how you make this happen.
Yeah.
And so if there's not, oh, it's the city run, it's a board of directors that the property owners select. And that board chooses where they're gonna fund and how much. And 20% of that goes to administration. You put specifically, you look at Frank's budget, everything, there's a specific amount allocated to administration, whether it's in Frank's case, it's marketing, et cetera. Ours is probably security and some other issues. But there's nothing there to talk about till we get that 50% plus one to improve it.
And then Jane, if we do get it, how long does it last? I mean, is this a 5 year and then you
5 year.
check, and then each year you check to see about renewing it?
It's a
and so
5 year.
forth, and then if there's a percentage or how many that went out, then that ends it, or how?
Nobody
does
gets
it-
on.
Nobody gets out.
There's only one way out.
So, Jeannie, actually, this one is a 5 year proposal, similar to what we did TV, our first one was a 5 year. And then, but you have to have annual meetings with the property owners to check in with them. And they can then say, well, we'd like to change this, can we allocate a few more dollars here? But about the 4th year, we then go back out and have to do a revote to see if they want to renew these.
I was just asking because there has been other things over the years. One used to be a parking district
Yeah.
downtown, which, as property owner, my parents had paid into and were taxed. And so,
I remember.
and then now things are changing where, what's going on. So I'm just saying, I want to know how long this goes, when does it sunset?
I'm going to interrupt you for a second because it's great, a good discussion on key bid, but we don't have it yet. And so I don't want to spend the 45 minutes talking about it because we can do something with code enforcement. And that's what I want to bring this back to. But thank you for all your comments. They were very good. And maybe that would be a future downtown committee discussion, meeting once it got off the ground, or maybe just talking about how to get it off the ground. So thank you. And, we'll continue this later. Any other comments about Okay, we know we only have, has our code enforcement officer come on board, Jimmy? Okay, so we know that we only have 2 code enforcement officers right now. We know that the demand has gone up. We know that there are some pressing needs. So knowing that, what suggestions can we have to come up with some solutions to work within what we have?
Well, I feel like since we passed the ordinance for the street vendors,
Mhm.
and we did a great job, we got the streets power wash, it was really coming together, it was looking good. And then it went nuts again and stuff, you know, it's a mess again, and the street vendors are back out. Taco trucks are back on Monterey, so it's just, we're back to where we started, and here we're coming into our summer months. And my concern is with us losing the 46 parking stalls next week, or this week already, I guess, or all the parking lots, and then the 46 parking stalls are lit down the road. Right now, if we lose all those spots, and then the street vendors are back out, there's at least 12 spots taken up by taco trucks on Monterey. Then the other 15 or 20 spots are taken up by the sidewalk vendors that park their vehicles up against the curbs and park them, put their stuff on the sidewalk. So it's gonna be a major concern for parking, more so. But my point is that, I know, we were talking, and the only code enforcement only goes out twice a month at this point. It has to be done on a weekly basis. I know there's a staff issue, but when I was in business, if a customer asked me to be at a site at 4 a.m, we were there.
See, that's what I think what we need to talk about.
That's gonna be a huge concern here, real quick.
With our 2 code enforcement officers, how can we do that? Jimmy, what suggestion do you have?
Don't have a suggestion.
Would you ever think of alternate, a modified work schedule or Friday, Saturday? Where, since we only have 2 people, we have a really pressing issue. And the role of code enforcement, in my mind, should not just get worse and worse and worse for them with more problems. That tells me that something's not happening at some level, because when you pass an ordinance, people should understand what they can and cannot do. And if they go through the permitting process, they go through the paperwork, but if they say, that's okay, no one's going to enforce it, then they do what they want. We fail with an ordinance that we spend a lot of time with. So in the beginning, I believe code enforcement has to be really on top of it. And if it means that they come to work at 3 p.m. and work until 11, it's not forever. It's for a few weeks to send a message. This is what's going to happen if you keep breaking the ordinance. And I don't know this, did they sign a contract basically saying they knew where they were supposed to locate, what they could have, what they did not have? So they knew that, they understood it in Spanish. And I hear that's one of the excuses that is being used. Well, we don't speak Spanish, so we can't communicate. They know the rules. To me, they broke their contract. And the first week, code enforcement, in my mind, should go up to them and say, all right, you broke this, this, and this, you knew the contract, you're breaking down, you're either correcting it immediately, or you're breaking it down and you're going home. The second time, they've lost all permits and they're not allowed back in downtown. Trust me, it's like a classroom. You set and establish the rules immediately. Yes, you're gonna have those challenged. But after a couple of weeks, or maybe even a month, you have eradicated the problem and word spreads real fast. Fran, you come to Gilroy and set up with any, station, they're gonna come and confiscate all your stuff, and then you're done, you're gone. And code enforcement could go right back to their normal schedule. Then maybe once a month, they just do little pop-ups, because what I'm hearing is that code enforcement comes between, 6 to 8 to check, everything looks good. I mean, I was downtown last week between 6 and 8, it was great, no one was there. They're smart, they're coming after 9 o'clock to set up, and that's where all the problems are happening. So maybe code enforcement for a few hours, maybe on Friday, they work from 8 to 12, but then Friday night they'll come back between 8 to 12 to see what's going on. It's not a forever schedule for them. We have to get, and then that helps their look also, because they've eradicated the problem. We don't want to give more work to them. We want to get it so it's balanced where it's a doable job. So, but sometimes you have to be really hard-nosed about it at the beginning.
I have a couple of, and thank you, that's certainly a reasonable approach. 1,650 code violations last year that we reported, 55 were vendors.
Yeah.
55.
So you want to eradicate that
55.
55, yes.
So
Because
I
some
have
of
to
them are
take,
really-
I have to take time and away from the 1,550 other code violations because this group is very focused. Of course you want code enforcement down there all day and all day, but it ignores the repeating interest of the rest of the city.
But let me ask you this, how many of the 55 were repeat offenders? See, I would say, if you looked at, that's trying to be, but if you look at it, a name may be popping up, boom, 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 boom. That's the person you want to go out and say you were disrespecting the city's ordinances.
And then last year, when this ordinance came in place, Sharon had code enforcement officers out there every weekend, all night long. So we did that approach that you just
Yeah.
mentioned, is hitting them hard, hitting them quick, but it is not sustainable for that staff. Because then all these other things that they spend Saturday night, fighting over vendors, then we don't enforce garbage, we don't enforce building construction violations, because these guys are not gonna work nonstop Saturday night every week. That is a great way to get people to leave the old organization.
And plus, I know when we have the statistics on code enforcement, I was really shocked by the work that smoking, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's like secondhand smoke, but the smoking ordinance put an incredible, load. We had about 300 and some,
500.
500 and some. Okay, you take that out of that 1,600, you're down to 1,100. And then, it's something like that's important, but that's something you can move to the bottom of the list, because again, I go back to it. If you're trying to stimulate, and yeah, I'll get you in a second, Terrence. If you're trying to stimulate downtown economy and making people come here to open a business, our downtown has to look presentable. And, we presented the 2 ordinances. This is a very third important component to the ordinances. We have to start addressing it if we're going to stimulate business and people coming down.
How long was it a code violation for, question? Because it was just an ordinance now, right?
Street vending?
Wasn't it just the end? Yeah, that was the last quarter when you guys was on council.
You should probably give everybody a chance to speak.
I got it.
Yeah, Terrence, so Karen, can Terrence say something real quick?
So I think a really good point that Jane made is that there has to be administration advising the council the implications of putting together these things. I've been saying for almost 2 years that there's not enough code enforcement for what we already have on the books. Yet more things keep getting passed. So it's up to administration to say, this is the implication of this. If you pass this, we're not going to be able to enforce it. And we're not hearing that until after the fact. That's the first problem. The second problem comes to, in my opinion, in prioritization. So everything is not equal. And if you get more public input and you have the ability to get more public input on issues, you can then weight them properly and then prioritize them better. Right now, the city's ability to take the input through the website is horrible. You can't do it anonymously. You have to register. You have to then try to figure out where you're going to put this. It's very, very difficult to go in and make a report and then probably, get it prioritized the right way. And if you get 6 of something somewhere from the public, you probably know that that's more important. So I would, try to see where our technology is breaking down that we can actually go to and do better and find things that are the most important. And moreover, go back to looking at whenever we're going to pass something, whether it's smoking or it's this. And last thing I'm going to say before I sit down is it is a public safety thing, Frank, because the food vendors right now on Mantelli and Wren, right on the corner in front of the flags, okay, right in front of the sign that says they can't do it, every weekend on Sunday, sometimes on Saturday, okay? And people stop right there on the corner to get fruit or whatever. And there's human trafficking going on with those groups that you see with the blue tarps. It absolutely is happening. So this is more than just food vendors. It's also public safety and human trafficking. So thank you.
I had a thought, maybe, I know, like a starting point is that the city were to put some type of letter together stating that these ordinances in effect with this street vending and so whatever ordinance we have, whether it's, or maybe start at one, and then get it to all the business owners, building owners. And let them know these are all happening and you'll be fine. I don't know if you can find whatever case, but at least they know about it. And a lot of vendors, a lot of business owners are aware that there's an ordinance out there. But if we could get a little more communication with the building owners or the business owners in some kind of legal.
Inviting them.
And, you know, basically saying that this is not acceptable, you know, and whatever, maybe was street vending or the flags or whatever, it might be cardboard, plywood on the windows, but something to let the building owners and business owners know what the city is trying to achieve here.
Mhm.
I don't know if that would be a little bit of at least.
I have a
little
question,
stepping
I
back.
have a question though, because I like what you're saying, and that could be done. But it sounds like the building owners are promoting the vendors in front of their store, and I'm not sure that.
Right, some of them aren't, that's what I say, there's
Some are.
some that
Okay.
that are doing that, okay, we can't have this as these are the
Okay.
laws, regulations. You as a business owner or building owner, you can't allow this, at least it's brought to their attention. And there's some that are gonna work with you, some that are not, but at least.
Would that
they're
be a
getting that
feasible
attention.
thing, Jimmy, a letter to the building business owners?
You know, I think I'm gonna let Sharon hop in here because she's the one that deals with this every day and she's the one that has the boots on the ground. So some of the things that you're asking, things that we've tried, that we've done, and I think it's only very much.
And I'd like to talk too.
Sure.
When we get her.
Yeah, when council passed on and, you know, it became effective in September last year. For 4 months straight, we conducted this very outreach, educational outreach every weekend. Sometimes it's even 3 days per week. We start with Thursday nights, Friday night and Saturday night. And then we look at maybe Friday and Saturday, and then kind of down to 1 day. But we did this community outreach, going into every downtown business. Talking to the business owners, and if the property owners are there, we did that too. We did that for 4 months straight, and we thought, okay, we've done enough outreach, and then we started doing more of a random twice a month. And we'll decide either Friday or Saturday, depending on staff availability. And that's where we have all the handouts, and we have all the PDF of backup in case things get out of hand. So we have all the handouts, and we send the signs out there also, and, we're letting them know we have all the information on our website and all of the forms and all the rules. And everything. So we did conduct that.
Then it's by complaint only after that.
Well,
People phoning in.
no, in addition to still twice a month, on average.
Okay.
Yeah. And because we only have 2 code enforcement officers, they don't necessarily have availability every weekend. Our fire marshal and building inspector have been going out a lot to supplement the staff. But, these are also staff. In addition to the code enforcement activity going up, our development activities have been going up too. So some of the fire prevention and building inspection staff, they were working actually on the weekends to catch them. Their workload, but then, they've been helping the code enforcement staff. So that's that kind of situation we've been under, but we've been doing a lot of proactive outreach.
Then I think instead of the outreach, we've got to move to the next level. If you've done all of that, those vendors know exactly what they're doing wrong. Maybe it's coming down to the point of breaking those vendors down and confiscating if they are violating. Do you know that one is tapped into city electrical? So, I mean, we have to think of these solutions on how we're going to make those numbers come down and how we're going to get the people to respect the ordinance that was put in, because it is getting serious. Marie.
Yeah, so this is, to me, I look at this a lot like fireworks. We've done everything we can. There is no way you can argue that people who are using illegal fireworks don't know that they're using illegal fireworks. They know. So oftentimes, when we pass ordinances or make fines greater or institute host liability, it's all in an effort to get help from others to turn in people that we can go get. So if a suggestion were to be that the property owner becomes somewhat liable for the vendor that is right outside their tenants, if you've got a tenant and it's someone who is encouraging the food vendor to be there, you could look at things like that. But from a city standpoint, this is not about people not knowing. And we pass ordinances, even if we can't completely enforce them, or even enforce them to the degree that they need to be enforced, because I'm just gonna say the bad guys, meaning the ones who don't care what the ordinances are gonna constantly be out there anyway. But with an ordinance and with education, maybe a large percentage of what's happening, people, the good people who just didn't know, do stop. So the problem is reduced when you pass an ordinance, even if we can't fully enforce it. So, that is part of what I want to say there, how to get at the ones that refuse is a different story and a very difficult thing to get to. And in the end, would require a city council direction to city staff to reallocate resources. That is not within the authority or purview of this committee, because that is a bigger thing. The ordinances, look at where we are, which we tried to address food trucks, we tried to address parklets. Look at the cry. The issue is we have competing interests downtown. That's always been the issue downtown. What one wants, another is fighting against. So the best way is the homeowners association type thing, getting back to the T-bid, where all of the businesses have to abide by a particular set of standards that then is easier to address. But those that aren't going to listen to ordinances aren't going to listen to ordinances, and it's going to constantly be a chase. I also want to say before we move on, you know, we will be getting to food trucks, and that's going to be something that certain downtown businesses are going to fight, depending, and we will be getting to parklets, you know, another thing. We did do a parking study. So with respect to parking, that has data that tells us that parking spaces downtown are not the issue, but we, the city, do need, in my opinion, and that's something that we will have to address too at the council level. We need to enforce parking restrictions so that, and this is after we deal with food trucks and after we deal with parklets, because these are our streets. And then we need to have better signage that gets us to parking. But as far as number of spaces downtown, that data showed that we're there. Will we be in 10 years if everything keeps booming downtown? I don't know. But we did that study for a reason. That's what the study says. So if people want to argue with the study, then that's what we need to do, is argue with the study. But to just continually say that we're going to have all these problems because we don't have these parking spaces, in my humble opinion, as someone who's been in Gilroy my whole life, it takes me back to the RDA and why the RDA never passed. Because of all this fear and conjecture of the change, instead of embracing something that we're trying to do that's going to bring a whole different thing to the downtown that's never been there before. That's just the 2 cents I want to put.
Okay, well, okay, I'm gonna respectfully disagree about our vendors being similar to the fireworks ordinance, because fireworks, I don't know about any of you, but I don't know who shoots them off in our neighborhood. A vendor, I do know who's breaking the law, because I can see it, and they're right there. So that's one thing.
And there is
Businesses,
a lot of vendors that are not supported by property owners.
And that's just what I was
There's a
gonna
few-
say.
Yeah.
Few one-offs, but
see,
but
that's,
not.
I would be really questioning that too. You know, I can't get over how many times I hear people blame compost. And talking to the owner, Diane, I mean, when we went out to look at the mural that was gonna go behind her building, she gave Melanie Renison and I an earful, and Dave then joined the conversation, and she was very hot and upset about the vendors in front of compost will not move, and compost does not want them there, she does not want them there. And so I think we might be really amazed by how many businesses actually do have a vendor in front of their building that they have brought in.
Carol,
Yeah.
what I said was fireworks. The only analogy I was drawing to fireworks is that the people using them know that they're using legal fireworks.
Oh.
That was the analogy.
Oh,
And that vendors who are out there, street vendors, know. That was the only analogy. After that, I said it is a council decision to give direction to reallocate resources if you're gonna go after them. So I wasn't suggesting that we don't know I wasn't comparing, here we know, here we don't. I was saying that it has to go to the council to reallocate resources. It's not something to tell Jimmy here in this committee to do outside of the council.
so maybe the council needs to re-look at this vendor ordinance and not reallocate resources. We want to eradicate the bad behavior. So maybe we step it up to say, we start, if you're not gonna follow the ordinance, you will not do business in Gilroy.
But if we're not gonna enforce it, it's a waste. We're just wasting our time.
I know that it's upsetting downtown.
But we're not gonna do anything about it. So
Unless-
we can just let them know, that basically on their own, because we're not gonna do anything.
Yeah, no, I will not support that. I believe we can do 17.
I think we also need to consider, so you said it went into effect in September, right? And you were giving us stats on the whole year of 2023, right? So obviously that's not, it's kind of skewed because if it came into effect in September, also September, October, and then you get into the cold months where the vendors are gonna kind of go away, people aren't in downtown, there's holidays, blah, blah. So you guys came in hot in September and October, then the cold season came, now it's getting warm, it's staying light out, so they're coming back out in force, right? So it's not to say that your approach didn't work. It's to say that maybe it's also seasonal. The other thing is that I, as a business owner of 2 different properties, we never had the city come in to us to tell us about the ordinance. So we never got any of the flyers or anything. I knew that there was an ordinance because of the signage, but I also never learned how to complain about it, or that I could complain. I mean, I know like physically I can complain, but I think that's also a connection that the city really needs to make is if you are a business and you have a problem with it, this is how you can combat that. Like I heard from Dave, like how it was like frustrating and all that stuff, but since I was down on 6 and 7, it didn't affect me as much. And I didn't understand that part. So I'm wondering if there's maybe another push to do what you did initially when it becomes seasonal. So warmer months come, code enforcement pushes a little bit harder, reminds the businesses who don't like it that they can do something about it. So then maybe your stats during the year will be a little bit more even. It'll be interesting to see who complains in 2024 since it'll be a violation technically the entire year. So that's kind of also my suggestion, and then I'll maybe less carrot, more whatever the stick. Sorry, it's tax season, my brain's fried. I don't know how you live so bright right now.
Something that does help is that they do start police patrols on Friday and Saturday nights, from Memorial Day to Labor Day, and we do have an involvement. So I agree with you, it is seasonal, but we share the same thing that it's been worse all winter than it was during the summer. So we get it every angle. You know.
And to let you know that the property owners were not also, there was no letter or made aware of the street vendor ordinance as well. So it wasn't just your business.
Okay.
We got no letter as well as a property owner, just like we didn't get for the meeting last week on Wednesday. As a property owner, we didn't get any notification. I think you guys might have been around to businesses, but there was no communication.
So there's
this meeting.
Yes, that's what we can take. Sue?
Well, I just want to say, and you kind of said it too, is the fact that the committee talked about, maybe we need more signs to where property owners or tenants can know who they call, what they do about somebody breaking the ordinance, right?
Yeah.
And then we need more bite into it. Like the first time, this is a warning. Second time, I don't know what, but you gotta have some bite. Otherwise, you're gonna keep doing it. You're gonna- Yeah. And so the other thing is, and Dave made this point, and I don't know if he made it strong enough, right now, the parking is less downtown, right? Because we're doing the Gourmet Alley. So maybe it's a little special right now that we take into extra consideration about enforcing, because we do need the parking. Otherwise, these businesses downtown, it's another nail in the coffin, so.
If I can say a little bit back to the hours, so the first kind of several months, yeah, typically 5 to 8. The reason we want to do the earlier hours, that's when we stop when we set up. And there were many vendors where, if they were set up, they didn't take it down. But doing that early, have that, have that benefit. But we have been doing this till 10 p.m. And I do get a report afterwards, and we have not observed those violations. And so, if you do see those, please send those to me, but we have been going till 10 p.m. And the ones that were setting up later, we did catch several of those.
Is Sharon on your email thread when you're, okay. Her last name is G-O-E-I. No, really, send them to her because I think that's valuable information because if Sharon doesn't see it, she's not gonna know what you're talking about. So ask her, please.
Thank you, Sharon. Thank you all for sharing. I think for me, the alarming and concerning part that I keep hearing from folks is that the lack of communication in the city, regarding some projects or whatever it may be, that's concerning. Right? And Terrence, thank you for your comments. I mean, if I don't know how to complain, like I said, I'm not gonna do it, right? And I think we have to take a step back, and we had this discussion in council a long time ago. We have to create something that's easy for people to read and utilize and make things friendly. Because if we think that, complain, well, I don't know how to go with a complaint, it's not gonna happen, right? And I think, again, to hear that even one business didn't know about this and that, it's alarming. And that's a discussion council needs to have because that can't happen. But if talking about parking, I'm glad that Maureen and everyone else brought it up. In addition to, the parking lot's closing, less parking spots. Is there still an issue with, employees parking in front of, their shops, right? Because it's, if there's no more parking, we don't have parking here, where all the employees are parked, right? So I know in the past that was an issue. It's still an issue now, but we have to consider that as well. But now you're having less parking spots because now our staff, your staffs are going to be parking on the race. So again, kind of two things have, I mean, we have to re-examine how we're communicating with individuals because, it hurts me to hear that people didn't know about this. But the other thing too is, as business owners, we have to make sure that your employees have some parking, right?
And I think, we've come up with some good suggestions. And I was sitting here thinking, yeah, it's just not bending, we've got other issues, but I think the bottom line has to be, there has to be teeth into code enforcement. That is because, and I'm not blaming the code enforcement officers, I'm not blaming the department, I'm just saying there has to be a different way of thinking, that if you say there's gonna be no camping in this certain spot, boom, there's no camping there. And yes, it takes a while, like I said earlier, to get it through their heads that you mean it, but it will sink in. If you're gonna say no bending here, there's no bending. If you're gonna say you're gonna follow the rules, then this is what's gonna happen if you don't. Code enforcement's life is going to get a lot easier because they are. There's no doubt about it. We're not blaming the men working. They're working as hard as they can, and after a while, you're going, oh my God, what do I do next? Our job here is to make their life a lot easier by saying, we want to support what the city puts into place to eradicate the bad behavior, and people just have to understand, if you're gonna do business in Gilroy, this is what they expect. So.
The city did send out on, and I was curious on this 500 for the smoking ordinance. Was that phone-in, do we know, or how is this 500?
Sure.
How was that done? Because I know there was a letter sent out that the property owners did get. And I phoned and spoke, well, not with Dennis, but the other code enforcement officers. It did not apply, or Scott, yeah, it did not apply to my building for it. And then he had shared that he had gotten multiple calls where the letters went out where it did not apply because nobody's living in the building. It's not with that. So is this 500 from something like that, or how is that?
Yeah, so we actually originally started with 700 something. But because of the ordinance, the criteria for the ordinance was 2 units more. And the city's database, didn't really have a direct way to distinguish if the 2 units are detached or attached. So originally from our GIS database, we came up with that. And after we sent out the letters, we got a response back from some of the property owners that did not apply to them. So we had to clarify that. And after that process, that's how we derived the 500 properties for which the ordinance was applicable. And that's where we know. Then we mailed out the letters based on our GIS database information.
So in the future,
Yeah.
might there be a standard protocol like that ordinance? There was a letter mailed out, but there was nothing mailed out on the vendor ordinance or even on the.
In-person outreach at, in the evenings.
Oh,
And
was it only in the evenings?
It was mainly in the evenings, correct, when the sidewalk vendors were out.
Do you
That was
conduct business, like, talk to the businesses during the day as well? Because some of us aren't open during the.
Yeah, we did some, in the beginning during the day, but we were focusing on the evenings, because that's where we were serving.
Is there, Jimmy, is there any possibility where after the first couple of violations or whatever, the fine could be, instead of a code enforcement officer approaching a police officer? I don't know, if that's technically
Money.
just.
Yeah, no,
Make a confine.
I get it. I mean, it's not like we're sitting here, Sharon and I are sitting here saying we don't care.
Right.
Or that you don't have legitimate problems, but if you work in this every day, you see a give and take. And so you say, okay, let's pick a police officer. Well, right now, we don't have enough police officers to do cars that get broken into. So I'm not gonna pull a cop off and have him do that and do a sidewalk there. I'm just being honest with you. It's not that I don't care. It's not that I'm not listening. And that's not that I don't think you have a problem. everything is give and take. And so that's where we're talking about, if council wants us to stop enforcing the smoking ordinance and just focus on downtown vending, we do what we're told.
That's what I'm saying, the council has to come to the council to give direction, and can't be from here. And we as a council have to look equally at the whole city. We can't just look at downtown and do for downtown, we can't do for anyone in the city.
But remember, it's not gonna be a forever thing. If that's right, no, really, I mean, you don't want, if you have to keep going back and banging your head against the wall every single weekend, you're not doing something right. You want to give them the support where it eradicates it. Yes, you're gonna have little pop-ups every now and then. We all know that. People are gonna challenge, but then you get on it again real tough. Remember, this is not to keep code enforcement doing this continually, is to get them to say, okay, we can now move on to something else. So going back to how council direction would be, is this an agenda item that would have to be written up to be brought back for council to discuss and direct staff? How do we do that?
Yeah, just like everything else that's come out of this committee, it goes before the council.
Okay, so it'd be an agenda item that would be written up, correct? Okay, I'm hearing yes.
Yeah.
Will be put on the agenda.
I think what Carol's asking is, can we set it for a future agenda item, or just Carol for time, so write it up, present it to Jenny, do the whole process.
Yeah, I think it goes through the future agenda process,
Okay.
I think that's what we're asking.
which is the best way to get
Well, I mean, I don't know.
attention, because now you're explaining
Yeah.
why the council should be, because the council members are gonna be looking again at the whole city. Council members are not supposed to be
Right.
advocates for particular interests, right? We're supposed to be advocates of the city at large.
That's true, and we are. This is our moneymaker. This is our moneymaker downtown.
Actually,
And-
I don't know, I don't wanna argue that.
No,
because
we're gonna argue it. It's
Costco
one
and
of your
and our
moneymakers.
car dealerships are our moneymakers.
Well, that's
Okay.
true.
It's
But,
not our downtown, but.
but it's a part of it.
Yeah, I will not disagree with that.
At least it's gaining momentum, I will admit, but so part of this whole, the vendor is, for example, is like Aldo's restaurant. You know, here we got somebody who comes from San Jose Campbell wanting to do business in our town. And one of the reasons he has slowed or stopped in his process was his frustration with the street vendors. And I appreciate that the city and we got, you know, and what you've done, Sharon, and your work, that we're getting there and coming through. So these are things we want those people to still continue to come. Now, you know, like we brought up about the parking, he's gonna be very upset about how many he's losing when he has a restaurant that he's trying to open right behind. So we gotta look at people who wanna come do business downtown, they need to make money, and they're looking at that part. And when you're a property owner, there's value to those parking stalls that is technically part of your property if you're trying to get tenants in there or you try to sell your building. So, you know, trying to look at this as from a business aspect, you know, everything's kind of interrelated. So if we're trying to generate revenue downtown, and what a great job you guys did with bringing in the sharks, we want to be able, so people come down and then spend money and help grow our downtown. So all these things are interconnected and coming through. So hopefully we can be where we're a little bit of revenue generator in the future.
Okay, great.
I want to ask, can I just?
Sure.
Terrence brought up something earlier that I think gets overlooked, is that he is right about some of these people who are vendors. There is human trafficking involved. And so when we have had police intervention, they have no ID. Some of them have no fingerprints and they don't speak the language that we speak. No finger, that is not unusual. So what do? We take a guy selling a hot dog and we drag him down to the police station and we hold him for 48 hours because they were selling a hot dog. Very tough situation to be in. These people know what they do. They're not stupid and they're not criminal. And we know that. So when we run one off, a couple hours, another one comes. So they know how to play the game. And so just to give you a sense, this is far larger than some guy selling the flowers that you see who's really not
Yeah,
bothering.
and I'm talking more of the tacos, the ones that have a legit kind of
Yeah.
setup.
Those are
Not the
easy
food,
to
not
shut
the
down.
food guys.
Yeah.
Done, but
Now, did you ever confiscate these guys' equipment? Because whoever's the head honcho, he's not gonna wanna keep losing his
Yeah,
equipment.
because
Sooner or later.
the ordinance has numerous steps, and so you're talking about taking property from someone.
Mhm.
And the process to take property from somebody out of the government is extremely lengthy and difficult, and the game is set up to where they'll just move on and bring somebody else and you start all over. These are the challenges that we run into. It's not a lack of desire to enforce. It is, but it's actually have to
Any
go.
way of labeling these,
You're allowed to ask.
legal vendors, so that
Yeah,
we know.
we do. They have permits on their parts.
Supposed to be visible.
Okay.
Health department, the repeat offender.
Well, the green card that the health department gives you or something.
We have our own.
Sticker.
Okay. And are they visible from the, like on the sidewalk side or? Yes, at that.
Well, the city had a,
Say that are legally licensed.
How many, Sharon?
Three.
Oh my
Three?
God. Oh my God. That's what I was curious. There's tons, oh my
And
God. Okay.
one thing, we that are supposing legal, they are not following the ordinance guidelines.
Yeah, oh my God. All right, that has to be, yeah. So it really has to be done. Only 3 are licensed.
Yeah, I think one is the one at the tire shop down by,
Jason.
and then the other one I believe is in
At the card shop.
in the park, the Pinata shop parking lot. So those are in downtown. There's only one, I think, that's actually.
Like in downtown. Holy smokes. Is that national, the one that comes out?
See map,
the CMAT.
The one, it's supposed to be in front of Garner Health.
yeah, see map, or Garner Health, sorry, yeah.
Kelly, you had a comment.
So I'm just curious, you know, I'm sure they do, but I'm hopeful that the countywide human trafficking task force is involved
Yeah,
in all of this.
yeah, but they get in and out so fast when
No,
they
I
know.
know, my husband used to lead that
Yeah.
that department, so.
Yeah, that's something that our police department works on, but again, not being able to identify them at all by any way, then you have to go to a DNA test.
Yeah.
Again, doing it for a guy selling on. It's not a good look for anybody or cutting through. Can I say one last thing and then I'm gonna leave it quiet? We had that community meeting on Wednesday and we did get a lot of great feedback. And I don't want people to think we're not listening to them, but the best thing you can do is to get very specific about your issue. If you have an issue that's going on with your property because of Gourmet Alley, please get a hold of me, Victoria. We've been reached by 5 different businesses. That's all we've heard from. And we've been able to come up with 5 different solutions to make sure that their problems are getting addressed. So I'm gonna be spreading this word. I'm meeting with the GDBA and the chamber today. I'm gonna be ever saying, if you have a problem, go to her.
I was just frustrated, the lack of communication, because I went on November 14, 2022,
Yeah.
to the meeting you guys had, and it was great. Then there was another talk that in April, and then it was crickets outside of the contract passing. And I didn't know about the Wednesday meeting. I heard there was
But a
some,
lot of people did because it was packed.
well, no, I saw in the video, but did you receive, you only heard from word of mouth? But how was it, how was it made?
Yeah, but
With the tight time or with the tight turnaround, we wanted to get out as soon as possible. And so we went door to door, taped notices, stuck
But
notices.
see, that's the businesses, not the business owners. And you didn't mail.
You
And
got
why the tight turnaround? This has been going on since 2022.
The contract.
got awarded and we only had a few weeks between construction started. And the reason why we had to get this construction started is because we're on a very tight timeline. So I'll take that criticism that you didn't get the communication, but we have a window here that isn't.
Who made this window so tight? I mean, we've had the grant since
The branch.
June of 22, and then now we're up against it.
No, we're not, we have done nothing wrong. If you look at every single step we've taken and the state has verified this, we followed every process.
I'm not saying, I'm just asking for the transparency and the communication coming forward in the future, because now we're up against it. So if there's something we want to try and change, you're already in contract, so it's going to make it
I don't
difficult.
think so. I think that contractor is writing everything down. There's a lot of flexibility here. The problem is people aren't getting specific enough.
Okay.
I'm gonna interrupt
I
you.
appreciate that.
Gotta get back to code enforcement.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
But thank you.
Thank you.
At 8:55, I wanna I'm giving you guys homework. So we're ready to roll in May. But right now, I just wanna summarize, what is the takeaway the city has? I mean, I will do the agenda item, so council will have direction. And Jimmy, what is the possibility of that agenda item getting on in May? Because if we have it in July coming to council, or not July, August, the season's gone, and this isn't gonna help
The
downtown.
process is clearly outlined in the process,
Agenda policy.
the agenda policy council adopted. So I can't tell you, it depends on when you get it in. If the council approves it being agendized.
The timeline is in that policy.
Okay, so downtown, maybe September we'll be talking about this. I mean, I really want to push, so I know that sounds sarcastic, but this is really important to downtown. This is important to the businesses. And when I hear that we only have 3 that are licensed and only 1 in downtown, holy smokes.
Can I just make one more last
Yeah.
comment before we close? I just asked the city to please be very strict if you can the next couple of weeks with the street vendors and all those people because of parking. You know, we had the coffee jack coming in today or this weekend. You know, nowhere for them to park now. We're trying to make my dirt lot with a sign that they can park in there, you know, just for people to park in there. Because I want them to come down. On the bowling alley, we're averaging 75 to 95 people a day, Monday through Friday or Monday through Thursday. And on the weekends, we have over 150 people in that bowling alley every evening. I don't know where they're gonna park. I'm very, very concerned.
Seventh Eagle area.
What's gonna happen with
Seventh
the
and Eagle area?
parking issues.
140
So,
spots.
I know there's the parking. I understand that, Jimmy.
There's
But
6 in
if
Railroad,
we
there's
have,
also Railroad.
we have 45 parking stalls or 40 stalls on Monterey Road, and they're taken up by taco trucks or street vendors, or I'm talking to my employees, I'm told them to park in the dirt lot, park over there, leave those spaces open for the tenants, and visitors, I see the visitors are coming. I think there's gotta be some, I know it's obvious, if you look quick here, just communication with these building owners that this is happening, you know, no one really knows. Everyone that's coming down here over the weekend, you know, they don't know about 7th Street parking lot, maybe they do, but I think there's gonna be, I'm hoping the city can really just stress the importance the next couple of weeks. Because I think when people come down here now, whether you're going to the store, to the post office, wherever you're going, that there's no signage or communication.
But Dave,
That's all.
businesses, the business owners
Yes,
need to do their part.
absolutely, that's what I'm saying too. That's
I
why-
drove
Yep.
downtown last Saturday, and I would say probably 10 spaces had cones blocking them off. You guys need to go out there and take those cones out.
Yeah, I'm wondering if we have, I mean, as, you know, as a business owner, do I have any power or authority?
If they put cones out there, you can.
If they are out there,
They don't want
I can go
Unless
out
they
there and,
fix it in your way.
you know, I would like something that official though, that I could literally say to them that I have the authority to like tell them that they need to leave.
Deal, we'll get you something.
Yeah.
I just think right now, obviously, there's a lot going on, there's a lot of whatever the case, but maybe in the next couple of weeks, maybe the city could just do something to. minimize it, yeah.
Dave, thank you for creating this parking mess.
All right, before you go home, I may email this to all of you. It is what you came up with last month for conflict suggestions. I want you in the next month, please go over it, see what you want to change, what you want to add. All right, so that when we meet in May, we're not starting to swear when we're none of you knowing what we're talking about. So come with your stuff, all your ideas. So I'd like to get this completed at the May meeting and then talk about the future of the committee at the May meeting. I may be taking off right now. Anyone that needs to talk to me, I can stop and talk afterwards, call me. I can talk like right. All right, thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Meeting adjourned at 8:00.